seamlessly transition into our next segment, I would invite Dr. Misra to join us for a fireside chat with our founder, Mr. Hubert Jerome.
In May in Gurgaon seems odd. Nonetheless, thank you, Dr. Misra, for having come here today. And before we start, congratulations once again.
Thank you. Thank
I
you so
think
much.
it's richly deserved. And I think we were talking about this, about Westland College and the fact that it is an all-girls college.
It's an all girls college. It's the first college in the world to be awarding degrees to women. Set up in 1836. It's a matter of great pride for them to be recognizing women who, in their own spheres, are creating leadership models. That was their whole mantra.
I love this only because if you ask my team, they will tell you we are an all-girls team as well, except for me.
We have a lot of this happening. There's an organization called HSM, High School Moms, which is run by a gentleman.
But I think I come from a family of women, 5 sisters I grew up with, 2 daughters, and now my extended family is a team of incredible women again. So I always think women are incredible, and if they put their mind to something, they can certainly accomplish it. Congratulations. That being said, I wanted to kind of, ask you to share how you look at education over the last 30 years. How has it changed?
Well, I started teaching in 1985, which is actually 41 years ago. And at that time, I think the role of a school was to provide a good education. Traditionally, the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. Some schools went a bit ahead, like DPS and the Bluebells and the modern school, which went into the co curricular aspect as well. There was no conversation around skill building or value education or teaching them how to have life skills. Those were taught at home. It was presumed that those things will be taught at home, and the child will come in a certain state and will be given a good education, and whatever skills they have will be put to use in some way within that school system. We saw that changing as we saw the family changing. From joint families we moved into nuclear families. Within the nuclear family, we have both parents working, which is the need of the hour. It's no longer something which happens once in a while. And my colleague Rima once told me about this proverb that she read from about a Japanese moral, that every family needs to have a nurturer and a provider. So, in the traditional sense, there was one parent who was the provider, who went out and earned the money, and one was a nurturer looking after the home. Now, that has changed over the past decade or so, where both have become providers, and the hit has been on the nurturing bit. Now, at no point am I saying that mother should not work or one father should be stay at home dad. All that we are saying as educators is give time. When you are back from home at whatever time, 5, 6, 7, whenever the parents come back, they should just put away their work. Like they do not carry a karahi to work that I'm going to finish making my sabzi. By that same token, they cannot bring their laptop on the dining table and say, I have to finish my presentation here. That should stop, because somewhere that disconnect is causing all the problems and they're reaching our school. Because, like we said, and every educator believes that school is a safe space. So the child feels okay to share with the counselor or with the class teacher that I'm feeling lonely at home. I have no one to talk to. I have a problem, but my mother is already very worried about something. I don't want to add to her worries. So children are very perceptive. They will not share something with somebody who they think is not going to give them a solution. So in their own immature, soft, young minds, the teacher is supposed to have all the answers, which unfortunately doesn't always happen. So that's the biggest shift I've seen, that suddenly everything is to be done by school in the same number of hours, 6.5 to 7 hours, where it was only education. Now that whole, sort of a expectation has widened to an extent that we are feeling a little overwhelmed, and we feel a little worried that should anything go wrong, the blame is immediately going to come to us. That is a worry.
I think this resonates very well with what we believe at My Safe Spaces. Like I said, one of the core I think things that we believe in is a concept of shared responsibility.
Yes.
And when we do have our parental workshops,
Yes.
I think this is the one area that we would emphasize to the parents. Just because you're sending, your children to DPS doesn't mean your responsibilities end there. It will only be as good as the amount of effort you put in.
Absolutely.
I think between the three key constituencies here, schools, educators, and parents, they are like a three-legged horse, or a three-legged race. Unless all three work in unison, you're going to fumble.
Yes.
And that is something I think we will start emphasizing, because it's sometimes difficult for schools to say that to parents, particularly when they are paying them, and then saying, yeah, just because you're paying us, you're still responsible. It kind of is an odd conversation. So leave it to us. So we will try to emphasize to the parents that this concept of shared responsibility is the way forward, and hopefully it'll catch on.
So we do say it actually in PTMs, especially in the cases where the parents are a little problematic. Then they have the joy of meeting me, and then I always remind them that in a 24-hour day, they are with me for only 6 hours. They're with you for 18. So don't undo what we are doing.
Right.
Be a support. So, like, I don't expect you to teach a child calculus. Don't expect me to teach them basic manners or bedtime. It should be at 10 o'clock. They're watching Netflix till 2, 3 o'clock. At least you can shut that off. But somewhere, I think parents need that support and help. That how do we say what we have to say? Because in this whole thing of only only providing and providing and providing some more, this whole idea of nurturing that this is sleep time, this is eating time, this is what you should eat, all that has taken a bit of a hit.
So, in the same time span, how have you seen students change and evolve? We talked about parents.
So I think students have changed differently in a nicer way. Since I've taught so many
Nicer way.
generations, yes, definitely. I have a lot of hope from children. I absolutely love children. So while in the 70s and there was a lot of respect for the teacher, but they may not have been as open. They would open up only in the senior school, or they would open after they are leaving their school. And some of them became very good friends with me when they were in college. They used to come back. I find that has changed a lot, because now children find it very easy to walk up to a teacher and talk. That barrier that existed doesn't exist anymore. So I'm very happy about that. And it fills me also with hope that if this barrier doesn't exist, come and share. Come and share your worries, your fears, your problems, your stresses. I may not have all the answers, I may not have solutions, but sometimes even talking about it lightens the atmosphere. Or you just agree, I used to also have the same trouble,
Right.
but it worked out all right. So somewhere speaking and talking and articulating does help. So I find children have changed for the better, parenting has changed for the worse, and we are somewhere caught in the middle as educators.
So we talked about a three-legged race. So I have to talk about the third leg here, and we have a room full of educators. How have the teachers changed over the last 30 years that you've been in this system? It's a loaded question.
No, it's a very genuine question, because teachers are the backbone of a school. And teachers today are grappling with much more than they had bargained for. And in fact, what they had bargained for one thing, but when they are told, oh, you're a teacher, you must be free at 2 o'clock. I'm sure every teacher wants to give them a good one at that time. Nobody's free at 2 o'clock. Am I right? We go home, we are making lesson plans, we are talking to children, sometimes children in distress. may not want to talk to a counselor. They'd rather talk to their class teacher or their physics teacher, whoever they have a connect with. They have corrections to do, they have papers to set. So there is no end to their work. Now we have added this also, that you have to, the first respondent in the class, in case a child is in distress, should be the teacher. She cannot put up a hand and say, I don't know what to do about this, and somebody else should deal with it. So she has to provide that emotional support, or that little scaffolding which a child needs. That dimension we did not have till some years ago. We've started providing teachers with that basic training of how to look for telltale sign, what is a red flag inside a primary class or a junior class or in a senior class. Everybody's response is different. A child who's misbehaving a lot, attention seeking, could be having a similar problem as the child who's gone completely quiet.
Absolutely.
So the teacher has to be trained. So that training has been happening sporadically. We hope that with tying up with
Yes.
you, that will be more systematic, more intense, and more tangible for all of us, because we need that, honestly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you had a magic wand and there is one thing that you could change in this whole education system, in schools in India, what would that be?
Can I change to
Of course.
typical teacher?
Yeah.
One would be, I would remove phones and social media. They should just disappear after the work is done. They should just vamoose. And I would really, really want parents to go back to that old age parenting. And I often ask them that when you are in doubt, instead of getting scared, just think of what your parent, your father, your mother would have done. Just do that. You're not likely to go wrong. You turned out fine. So follow the same tenets despite the so-called changing times, and you are unlikely to go wrong if you parent the way you were parented.
um, I published a book last year. It's called Navigating the Digital Maze: Social Media, Mental Health and Safety. It's about teaching parents the pitfalls of social media and how to navigate it. I'm now bringing out a second edition targeted specifically to parents and in the Indian context. And the way I start this book, and it is going to come out in the next month or so. The way I start this book is, if you go back, when we were children, I still remember Wednesdays evenings was everybody assembles,
Chitrahar.
Chitrahar.
Yeah.
It was a shared moment. We all, laughed, sometimes cried, but it was a moment we were all together. It doesn't matter. There was, some smart ass comment from somewhere
Doesn't matter.
that made everybody laugh.
Yeah.
That shared moment, I think, is missing. You come back, 40 years, 30 years now, and you look at a living room in Gurgaon or Mumbai or any other place. You see not, an assembly there. You see 4 people, if at all. Each of them in a couch or sharing a sofa. Each of them with a digital device in front of them. Parents perhaps with, a laptop. Students with their cell phones. Each in their own digital island. That shared moment no longer exists. And I think that is a shame. The other aspect which I always feel is I feel great empathy for our children today, partly because there is a loss of innocence. When we were growing up, when we were teenagers, there were so many things we didn't know. And it was so blissful. And we stumbled our way through this and, giggled and laughed and grinned. But there was a certain amount of, I think, innocence that we did have, which was sweet. Looking back, that I feel, kids of our generation have totally lost. And I really feel for them. I wish I could bring it back. But it's tough to bring, put the genie back in the bottle.
So there are parents who have not given the phone to their child. Some of them Not many, but some of them still listen to what educators say. So when we say till class 11, don't even hand them the phone, not even for 5 minutes. There you will still find the innocence. There you will still find shared purpose. There you will still find children painting, drawing, doing a puzzle, playing Scrabble, playing any board game, Cluedo, Monopoly, something. But where the parents, out of sheer love or sheer providing, have given a phone, you see it all ending.
But do you think a lot of education right now, you know, depends on a, if not a phone, a laptop?
Not in many schools. Maybe
Not
in some
many schools?
schools, and
Okay.
maybe in some boards that you're required to give certain information on laptop, but it's inside the school. There is a screen. Now, ideally, a parent should say, "You've seen a screen for 6 hours. You're not going to see screen anymore." It should not become an extension of the screen
Right.
at home also. So somewhere you can't wish it away. I mean, it's like saying I'm not going to use any paper because I have to save trees. So no more paper, no more writing any exams. Kids will be very happy with that. So you have to find that fine balance that you have the screen for education, but beyond that, you cannot be then soon after that watching a TV or playing a video game. You can't constantly be on screen, endlessly for 15 to 16 hours in a day.
Absolutely.
So
I think the next time I have this argument with my teenage daughter, who's 15, by the way, I'm going to have you on speed dial. uh, but I think there's something you mentioned. You know, uh, out of the blue, I wrote an email to you, which started this whole, journey between us. What is it that made you, finally decide and pull the plug and, you know, start on this partnership?
So, like I told you, that this is a gap that we had noticed. Sometimes, when you're busy with your work, you see the gap, but you keep pushing it at the back. That, "Ho raha hai na kaam, it's
Right.
going on." So when I read your mail, and it somehow was fitting in all the gaps that I had been thinking about. I like to work a little democratically, so I shared the mail with my leadership team. And since to December we were about to close down, so I said, okay, now we'll talk about this later. But they all came, ma'am, it sounds very good. It sounds like it's doable and it will help us. And that's how I think we went forward. And since I'm now looking after the other schools, I said, why only my school? I'm equally concerned about the Dharavs, three of them. I'm also equally concerned about DPS International. So that element of care. I mean, a parent of international should not say that DPS 45 has something, and are you, lesser than them in
Absolutely.
any way? Why don't you have it? So we want everyone to feel that sense of nurturing and that sense of we are moving ahead with the program with the one clear cut mandate that we are creating a safe space for teachers, children, and parents.
One of my favorite books, Great Expectations. We always start with great expectations. How have we, matched to your expectations?
So I'm different. I don't have great expectations. It's better, but you'll get disappointed later
Right.
otherwise. So what has started, it is very nascent, but it's on a very good note that you're also going slow, but it's steady. I do not believe in rushing into everything and falling on my face. So steadily, all our schools have got the initial trainings. It's gone well. I've got good feedback from even from Jaipur and from Gurgaon. So the next step will be, I think, meeting with parents, which will be a struggle, but we will meet that struggle. Meeting children will be joyous. And you'll get a lot of inputs from them, which will help you build your other modules. So my expectations are very low key right now, but I'm happy because they're low key. I'm not expecting miracles. I'm expecting that whatever we have set out to do together as a team, my spaces and my safe spaces, and we will work together and plug the areas of worry that we all have right now.
I think well said, absolutely, and like I said, it is a shared responsibility, and what we can promise is it will no longer be a three-legged race, but you'll have a fourth leg, so that it can add greater stability. So with that, I would like to thank you for the partnership. I would like to thank you for taking the time to come here and join us. And I think there are great things to come. And the one word, when they asked us to write a word which defines us, the word I wrote is hope. Because that always is, when I see kids, that is the one word which comes to me every time, anytime. Uh, it is with great hope that I see them. And I see a similar sentiment, I think, when I talk to you, and when I see all these educators there. If they did not have hope, they wouldn't be doing these thankless jobs. Thank you to all the educators for doing such a wonderful job. You are the backbone of any country, and thank you for shepherding them.
Thank you. Thank you so much.